Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now.
Yeah.
Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. How you doing today? I'm good. Making it. You are at the spot, the location, a cool place where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Today, we're going to Jersey. We're going to talk to Teja Valentin. We're going to talk to her about a woman's voice and her power, her sexual energy, her drive. Teja guides women back into their bodies so that they can experience safety and pleasure and aliveness. You know, what is that? It's more than just the orgasm. If you even get an orgasm, some women don't have never gotten an orgasm, but it's also understanding the pure feminine essence of who you are supposed to be, your voice in all of its quirky inflections. So we're going to talk to her about that and a whole lot more. How are you, Tasia? You look lovely.
Thank you. I feel good. I feel good.
Feel good? All right.
Yeah,
That's all about perception. It's how you make yourself feel. Even if you're down in the dumps, you got to pick yourself up, right?
definitely.
All right.
Definitely.
So how do you show up in the world, Queen? Tell me all about it.
Well, I'm definitely making some moves, taking steps to put myself out there because this is definitely a new arena for me to even be speaking with you. Um,
Hmm.
I was always a very shy, quiet girl, never spoke up or anything like that. I was raised to just be quiet. Um, don't, it basically was living at home was like walking on eggshells, that saying. So I just learned to just stay in my corner and just kind of be invisible. And it worked really well for a long time. But
You say it worked really well. That's funny.
right.
Now let me ask this. Just kind of interject right there. So, did you have tough parents? Was it the environment where children should be seen and not heard? Was there additional pressure? Were you bullied? What
I
caused that suppression
yeah,
of your
no,
voice?
I am an only child, and my mother had mental illness, so she herself had some trauma or a lot of trauma, and I don't think she knew how to be a mother. She had me very young, 16, so I don't think she really knew how to be a mother, and so I'm not like blaming her, but that's the situation that I grew up in. And she could be very volatile and physically, mentally, verbally
Was she a
abusive.
single parent, or did you grow up in a two
No,
parent
so
house?
my father was great. My father was the stable parent, but he would leave to go out for work, and then he would come home, and my mom ruled the house. So not my dad. My dad was a very quiet, softer spoken man, and so he provided for us, but it was really my mother who ran the household, and so it was just easier for me to just kind of disappear into my room, you know.
Stay under the radar. How
Yeah.
did that translate to your personality when you started to go to school? Was there more freedom there, or did you carry that shyness with you everywhere you went?
Now I only have one best friend, and then eventually I met my second best friend in high school, but all through elementary, all the way. I didn't really even have friends until I got into middle school with when I met my best friend. And I'm 54 now, and so we've been best friends since we were 10. And you know, I still talk to her. I talk to her like 3 4 times a week, every week for decades now, and we
Right.
don't live in the same state. We rarely have been in the same state since I moved away, you know. And so anyway, she was total opposite of me. And so I always admired the way she could just speak her mind, didn't give a shit, you know, just did it and or said it. And I just always admired her, but I never was able to do it myself. It really wasn't until just recently, it was more during COVID that I started to, I don't know, I can joke around, like come out of the closet basically, because
Right, right.
I had, by this time, I had already divorced my husband, who basically I felt was repeating what my mom,
Mm-hmm. You
not
were drawn to that same type of personality.
yeah, not physically, but emotionally very shut down, you know. So he made me feel like again I was invisible, and my voice didn't matter. Whatever I said didn't matter. And so same thing happened. I learned to just be quiet, don't say anything, don't rock the boat, all that. And but you know,
Let me ask you a quick question. Okay, so between the time that you were in high school, adolescence, and you got married, did you kiss a few frogs?
I had a couple, yeah.
Couple,
Yeah.
okay. And so those relationships, were they similar to what you had with your husband? Did you gain any insight or tools, or it was just something that you
No,
explored?
no, they were great. And I'm like, you know, almost kicking myself, why? But I always felt that there was more for me, and even though they were great and our relationship was great when I was with, you know, the others, but I wanted more. And when I met my husband, I felt like he could provide that more, but then I think I didn't know what I just thought that we were going to keep growing together. And
Mhm.
initially it was great, you know, for the first few years, and then it just got worse. And
Because I
so
want to color in the white spaces for those women that are out there in a quandary. When you say more, you don't know what you don't know.
yeah,
So, was it more sexual intimacy? Was it more conversation? Was it more passion? Was it more intellect? What do you think that more could have been?
I wanted more mm, experience out in the world, like with my ex we did travel, we went places, we so that was like the thing that really drew me about him. When we were dating, we would travel, and I love to travel. That's like one of my things now, is I like to travel. And so I think that was really what drew me to him and to stay with him, because I knew we would always be going on a vacation like every year, or you
So
know.
it was his worldliness. It was his desire to explore and bring in new experiences.
Yeah, unfortunately though, it turned out that it was always going back to the same place.
To the other side of Jersey. We go to New York for the weekend or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, it was always some island. And I'm like, but I want to go to Europe. I want to go to Spain, France. I want to see, you know, Alaska. I want to go just even Midwest, you know, to see the sights like out in our own country. And he wouldn't do that. And so I got to do some of that myself on my own. And and that's what I like. I really love experiencing new things. It's like, for me, it's there's so much out there that we don't even know. And my I you know was ill for the longest time, and so this is part of what I feel like is my path, is to experience as much as I can, because
Right.
life is precious, life is short, and there's so much beauty out
Mm.
there. And then, you know, also within in the marriage wasn't a very happy one. There was no passion whatsoever, no sex, no passion, nothing. And so I felt like I was truly missing out on what I thought would be really a nice thing to have within a
Right.
relationship. And So it was, I was very unhappy. He traveled all the time. I never saw him. He would just be on the road all the time. And I was bringing up the children. I have two kids. And so it was always me and the
Well,
kids.
I didn't know we talked about that. I didn't know. Did I talk about the kids? Did we talk about the kids? Okay, so
Um,
well, there had to been some sex, unless you did it by osmosis. Okay, so you had
Time.
two kids. Oh wow.
Yeah, I always joke around with the kids when my son came home at like 10. I think he was 10. My daughter was like 6. We were sitting at dinner, and my son came home all excited that he learned about sex, and he was like having this. We were having this conversation at the table, and he was explaining what he learned, and my daughter's eyes were like so big, she was like, oh, mommy, you had sex? And I was like, yeah, 2 times. So it was just cute. It was just one of those funny moments. But it wasn't far from the truth. So I
Now,
felt like,
what did you do for a career?
so I was a nurse. I mean, I'm still a nurse, but I'm
Yeah.
not practicing as a nurse right now. Um, yeah, so I graduated right, out of high school. I got my first job that summer as working at NYU Medical Center in the city, and I loved it. I thought I was a very good nurse. I did nursing work all the way while my kids were growing up. I worked per diem, as needed,
Mhm.
so that I could be home because my he traveled, so
Right,
I
right, right, right.
be available. The hours were perfect for me to work in the school system, and um, and that's how I worked. I worked in the school, in their
Right.
school, and then
So now let's springboard to COVID. COVID was an interesting time.
hmm
Still, folks are still thawing out from the
yeah,
effects of COVID. There were some that just stayed in the house because I love my house, girl. I luxuriated right here. There was food, there was drink, there was a jacuzzi. My man was here, the music, I was fine. Um, there are others that went off the deep end. I mean, their mental health plummeted. They turned to drugs or alcohol, or if they were already in an addictive type of behavior, they couldn't get the help that they need. You had nurses such as yourself that were disrespected, that were not given the equipment that you needed to protect yourself, but you still forged ahead. You still went in there to take care of others. And you had your own safety. You had your own family to take care of. But then you had others that soared. What opened the can for you?
well, by this time we were divorced, and I was living it on my own place, and I started dating someone, and that opened up my world, more
Mm.
sexually speaking. And so I was
And your
like,
thighs? I'm just kidding.
wow, it, it was really amazing. I never had anything remotely close to that. And so that really opened my eyes to what or how sex could be. It truly was an opening for me, to my spirituality, and I really felt like I started to grow, like I really tapped into my truth, my own body, my own wisdom that I never had before. I always felt there was something missing, and it wasn't until I was with him that I felt like I finally tapped into it. And so
Sex
when
is euphoric. And I tell
it
people all the time, it's in the mind. I mean, your imagination, you connect with the breath, you feel your feminine energy. You want to, if you're with a person that that you
yeah,
didn't just pick up the bar for that night, but you really want to please that other person, not only the pleasure. And if you're with someone, which we all should be with someone that wants to pleasure you,
yeah. So
it
that
takes
was
you to a whole nother level.
totally, totally. And so for me, that was huge life, literally life changing, because um, it was because of my experience with him that one day I get this email. I don't even know how I got on their list, but would I like to participate in their program, a love, sex, and relationship coaching program? And I'm like, I can't, yeah, just like what you did, huh? Like, I was like, how did I even get this? And I didn't even know there was such a thing. So I was just pondering it for a couple of days. And so I watched the little freebie promo, class that they were offering. And I was literally like in tears. It was like a breast massage kind of thing. And I realized, oh my God, there's a lot here that I haven't even worked on or didn't even know existed. There was a pain or sorrow or grief or something. And so I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I would not have said yes had I not had the experience already now with this partner. And it was life changing. So that whole, it took me a little over a year, so almost a year and a half, and of doing the work for the coaching work. I must have released layers and layers of stuff in it. It's very potent. Like you said, the breath is so potent. We use the breath all the time. And of course, whatever I was learning was helping me at home with
right.
this
But
partner.
it's the breath, and people don't. Well, young women or inexperienced women, let me turn you on to something. The breath is so powerful because it turns the other person up.
Yeah.
You are able to contract and release your muscles.
Mm-hmm.
They love to hear the passion, the
Yeah.
moans, the excitement when you call them daddy. All these things, and it's fun because, and don't break a sweat. It is such a release. I know I had a family member. She had 5 kids, and she told me that she had never had an orgasm.
Mm.
And her partner, okay, I got to be careful how I say this because they'll know who she is. But her partner never wanted to please her. Never. It was all about, she could be in the middle of her menses and he'd be riding her like a freight train. Mm. And it was just horrible for her. And so I said, well, she says, I don't know. Women don't have any experience. It don't get wet. It don't squirt. And I was like, wow. And that's just one aspect of it, but
Yeah.
also self gratification.
Yeah.
Women will, or parents will catch their children masturbating, or they'll catch themselves playing with their friends. That's how you explore what's happening. That's the
Right.
time to pull them to the side and have a conversation. Because if you don't know how the coffee maker works, it's never going to percolate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sex is not a dirty word.
No, definitely
It's
not.
the greatest release of energy, power, passion, control that human beings have.
Oh,
Gus, God, universe, source gave us that. So
yeah.
now you get into this program. What kind of things did you do besides breath work? What did you go under hypnosis? Did you have a
We
group orgy? I'm just
no,
kidding.
no,
I'm just
not.
kidding. I mean, well, people do it, but
We the beginning part of the course is very much coming more inward. So working inner child work, your inner masculine, inner feminine. So where you're getting your stories from, right? And we were having to clear, because most of us don't even feel safe to have pleasure, to have that orgasm, to have that connection with a partner, because it was never safe. We all come in with baggage as trauma, and through some shape or form, in whatever level of trauma, but we still have it. And if it's not cleared, we're not going to be able to get to where you want to be ultimately. And so the first, the beginning part of this program is to really um, tap into what it is, and then clear it, and really come back to love for
Now, when
yourself.
you say, I just kind of want to stop so that we can follow this in sequence. When you say clear it, that's not a reframing of it. It's a release of it, because it's like people that experience trauma. I've had a lot of trauma coaches, and they'll get up to a certain point and they don't want to relive that. They want to reframe it to where this could have been a different type of experience. So then when I get to this point with another person, I don't have this blockage. I'm able to deviate from that, pull back
Yeah.
on these resources. So it's also it's a reframing as a part
Yes.
of the clearing.
Yes. So normally we would have in a session, I would invite them to, go inward. Is there a safe place in your body? Or is there an energy in your body that you can connect with? Like, and give it a persona, a
Mm,
name, you know, maybe it's, it could be a made up, a goddess type energy. It could be a
mhm.
total, like, it could be a fairy. I mean, it could be
Yeah,
any.
it can be your alter ego.
Right. So right, and exactly. So it could be a warrior type person. It
Right.
doesn't. So for everybody, they can tap into whatever speaks to them, and so we work with whatever that is, because then, so now it's like, now you have this person, you're not alone anymore, and so now you can begin to have a dialogue where you can have exchange of information. So what is it that I need to do to feel safe, so you feel into it, and or what is it I need to do to move beyond this fear? Is it just to be held for, or supported, like hold my hand as we go through this, or is it, um like, so I whatever, it's their that person's journey, and so I'm just guiding them with the tools, and it's so powerful because you'll see it. I mean, they literally change right in front of you from,
Mm-hmm.
when they first come to session, by the end of the session, because they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know, that this was connected to that. This one, whatever feeling came up was actually from something else that they didn't even realize. And
I had one of my other guests. She facilitates bondage and
mhm,
teaches people S&M. And it was so fascinating because it wasn't just about that. It was about, again, releasing that inner child. Someone is in a high position all the time. They're running everything. They're running, Fortune 500 company, but they want to be not in control. They
right,
want to be held. They want to be nurtured. They want someone to take the wheel for them. And I didn't understand that. And I was like, oh, I thought it was just, about the spanking and the latex, but it wasn't about that. It was about a freedom. And I see what you're saying. Once you get to that point, you've had so much suppressed, things that you didn't even realize. And
yeah,
then when you find a safe place that you can explore that,
yeah,
it's mind blowing.
and you can let go. So same thing for women who can't orgasm, right? I work with yoni eggs. Have you heard of yoni eggs?
They're like kind of like Benoit balls. Uh, that big, good lord.
Medium. So they're
That's
small. Yeah,
what?
yeah. So they're crystal eggs. I work with them. I'm a coach, Jade Egg
Hmm.
coach, and so these are very powerful as well, energetic. So I had a
Benoit
hysterectomy.
balls are only about this big.
Yeah, yeah. So I use these. I had a hysterectomy because I had a lot of illness and issues with. We never actually talked about it, but I had thyroid cancer,
Yeah.
metastatic, right? And then it affected my uterus as well. So I had tons of fibroids. I like to grow things, right?
Mm.
And so many surgeries. I had many surgeries here to keep removing the whatever was growing, and as well in my uterus. And so finally got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore. I was like, just take it out, because they've already been in there 5 times. It's like, please just take it out. And so now I am learning how to work my pelvic floor again, because
Mm-hmm.
surgical trauma, in there. And so it was one day all of a sudden I felt urine. I was like, oh my God, this, I'm way too young. I was 47, so I'm like, I can't be doing this. So right away, this is the one thing I learned, is to trust my intuition. I know when something's not right, and I know that I need to seek help. Um, and so I spoke with an Ayurvedic practitioner. She showed me the yoni egg, and all about him.
Oh, you learned that through Ayurveda?
Yeah, I knew an Ayurvedic practitioner. She shared with me,
Wow.
and so it's through her. I grateful that she pointed me in this direction, because so what happens when you use the yoni egg, this egg, is because now there's my pelvic floor is so traumatized. It's just there. It doesn't even know what it is to contract or to relax.
Mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm,
just
mm-hmm.
there, right? And
Let's
so
see it again. Hold it up so people can see. Look at this, Brains.
yeah, and there's holes right here. So you would put a string. You would actually use dental floss. So the string hangs out, and this part goes in. And now you have weight. You have weight. So now your pelvic muscles, the pelvic floor, can feel what it is to do a Kegel, to squeeze,
Okay.
to release, squeeze, release, right? So I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher as well. So when I would
Okay.
do my exercises, like inhale, squeeze, exhale, relax, inhale. So I only did like a few minutes of it every morning, but I started to get more sensation back, because what happens is with the egg inside, every time you squeeze, it's increasing circulation, it's increasing blood flow. And what happens when you increase blood flow and all that? Now it's almost like if you were having sex, right? You're starting to stimulate, and so now
Mm-hmm.
you have lubrication. There's more lubrication,
Wow.
because many women complain of dryness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this helped my pelvic floor to get back into shape. It helped so that I'm not dry, like I have
Right.
patient,
Right. Right.
and it also helps strengthen. So, and again,
And it also strengthens the abdomen,
it's right.
because a lot of women, they think it's just the vaginal muscle, but it's also the abdomen and the buttocks muscle contraction. That muscle control creates different things. Tell you guys a quick little funny story. When I was pregnant with I do 125, 150 Kegels every day. And we're in the Lamaze class. And so the teacher was teaching, okay, so we want you to do, about 20, 25 Kegels a day before give birth. And I raised my hand and I said, oh my God. I said, well, I do like 125. One of the guys in the class says, oh my God, you're gonna crush the baby's head when she comes out. But
Right.
it is, it strengthens, like I said, the pelvic floor, because when you do have a hysterectomy, there's women that have bladder leakage.
Yeah, that's
They
exactly
have
what
they have
happened.
yeah, they have nothing to support them. And then, I had someone tell me one time that a guy had told her, oh yeah, well, I don't really like having sex with you because, you don't have any walls.
Mm.
So there was no pleasure for him, really. If, she's dry and there's nothing in there, it's like, you might as well rub it on some sandpaper. So this is really good information to know, and options
Yeah.
outside of, maybe people don't want to use a lubricant,
Yeah.
but
I would still use a lubricant, but once you until until you can be more proficient at it. And I think, but what was I going to say? Oh, so very importantly, because I don't think a lot of people know this, right? I had thyroid cancer, and what I learned in my healing process was that I was like, how did I even get cancer? Because I was healthy all my whole life, and I rarely remember being sick, you know. So I didn't know how this even happened. So I went deep dive. I started researching, and what I found out was that through the thyroid cancer, thyroid is related to the throat chakra. Now I was like, okay, well, what's a chakra, right? So I look up chakra, it's energy centers. And I find out we have, you know, so many energy centers. We have seven main ones. And so I started learning about it. And what I learned was that the throat chakra and the sacral chakra, which governs our sexuality, our reproduction, our pleasure, they're connected. They're directly connected because we have a vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is the longest nerve. It translates, I think it's Latin for wandering nerve. It innervates both centers. So if you're having issues in your throat chakra, whether it's physically, you know, or you know, anatomically, it's also happening. It almost reflects like a mirror down here, right? So me energetically was always holding back my voice, my and this is, you know, my power. I didn't realize back then was my voice is my power. and and so I had a tight pelvic floor because I was constantly stressed. When we're
Mm.
stressed, we hold hold everything in, right? Women, we love to stuff things in our bags, right? Our purses. We always have we love pockets. Well, same thing that's happening to our uterus. We stuff our emotions in there.
Mm.
And these are what's causing the, you know, fibroids to grow. All my pain was being held in my body. And so when I made that connection, you know, this is why it was so like super cool that this woman told me, oh, use the egg, because I finally was able to have a little more compassion for myself,
Mm.
because again, it brought me back to that little girl. And I was like, wow, I got you now. Like, I'm going to take care of this now. Me
Wow.
as the woman, not as a child. And so uh, at the same time, I started Kundalini yoga. I never knew about it, but again, through my research, because chakras and stuff, it works very much on your nervous system, your physiological system, your endocrine system, all the stuff. So I went to Kundalini yoga. I did an 8-week introductory, you know, course, and I had a very high detectable cancer marker for thyroid cancer. And 8 weeks later, it did not.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
It's
So,
the power of the mind and the breath, but also the longing and the wanting. There was something that you wanted.
mhm.
That is something that's suppressed by people too, is a desire,
Yeah.
hope, joy.
It's I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly what always leads our sessions when I do the coaching, because I always open up. Well, you know, you always want to feel good, right? What are we celebrating today? And then, you know, maybe what are we clearing? And, you know, being Catholic school girl, what are our CCDs? um, Celebrating clearing. And then what is your desire? We don't pay enough attention to our desire. And
Right.
so by having voicing what that desire is, then we can make it known, so that now it's like that person has a team member, you know, to be accountable, like, hey, you know, especially if I'm going to see them next week or something. um
Exactly.
how's that going?
And also with a lot of people have been shamed.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to feel that. That's nasty. That's dirty. That's wicked. I'm not of that train of thought. I don't know. And if you have that, maybe you have a religion's doctrine. Maybe you have a husband or a partner that doesn't allow you to explore your sexual inhibitions.
Mm-hmm.
Have a conversation this is what I need. This is what I want. This is what I like. It can be different.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's not, everybody doesn't like vanilla ice cream. It can be different. Explore those options. If you explore it, you don't like it, you don't have to do it. But as long as it's safe and it's consensual, I think that that's very important. This is
Yeah.
a different day now. People are doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, they are having sex in all kinds of ways. I'm just thinking about with artificial intelligence, what are we going to be doing? Bumping our foreheads together? Uh, you look at sexuality, you've got pansexuals. I said, what is a pansexual? You've got transsexuals, you've got transgenders, you've got asexuals, you've got
Mm-hmm.
homosexuals, you've got,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's not about how you do it. And I ask people all the time, I said, when you see gays or lesbians, what's the first thing you think of? The first thing they think of is how they get down, is how they enjoy sexual pleasure. And I think that's pretty perverted. You're
Mm-hmm.
not looking at the person's hair color. You're not looking at their intellect. You're not looking at their bank account. You're not looking at their circle of influence. You're worried about how they're sexually pleasuring themselves. And a lot of times is that because you're kind of uptight, that you have never been able to do what you needed to do.
Right.
So work with a person like Teja that is willing to have a private, intimate conversation to allow you to be who you want to be. You don't have to
Yeah.
go out on a kinky website. You don't have to be addicted to porn. You
No.
don't have to, you can learn to pleasure yourself. There's nothing wrong with self pleasure.
Right. And that was part of the program, was to really learn your body, to know and learn about your own pleasure,
Right.
your own body, which again, being a good Catholic school girl, I never did, so now was my time to figure out what it is, like what um that pleasure felt like for my own self, because you know this is my body. It's not someone else's responsibility. I mean, right? I mean, maybe if we're together and it's consensual, but ultimately my pleasure is my responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anybody else's. And so that was
Now,
one of
let,
the things.
let me ask you a question. Okay, you got people on this. I don't know how they enjoy doing this, but that sex texting and the I don't care to see your junk on a picture. That just doesn't do it. But when you're dating and you're finding someone and you're on these dating websites or whatever, and you finally meet, having a conversation about sex, I think should come up before you actually do it to
Mm-hmm.
see, what a person may like. Maybe they're into kink, maybe they're not into kink. You know, if they cringe, if they're uptight, you get a gauge for a person. I'm not saying maybe the first date, some
No.
situations
Yeah.
maybe,
But yeah,
but
I do.
having that conversation, opening up that conversation, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, I do. I have that conversation a lot. Like, I want to know what your love language is. I want to know
Mm-hmm.
what your body blueprint is. And let's see where we can come and meet, because I do also have it's a short course. It's a 2 day thing, intimate conversations for couples. And so we learn in that is how to communicate with each other. And then included in that is how do you communicate about your desires. Like, so those two tools that we use, your love language and your erotic blueprints, because a lot of times I hear from women, oh, he doesn't care. I don't even know if, he loves me. He
Right.
doesn't, right? Because maybe they're not having sex as often as she liked. But guess what? He's mowing the lawn, taking care of the house, and he's paying the bills, and he runs to do the errands. And his love language may be acts of service, but hers is, maybe she wants touch. They're not meeting. So once I can find the connection between and make them like realize that, oh well, his love language is not the same as yours, so it's like you're speaking two different languages, you're never going to understand each other. The same thing with the erotic blueprint. Someone could be, usually the guy is like a kinky type or shapeshifter or something. Women might be more sensual, and if they're looking to be long, soft, romantic, flowers, music, but he just wants to like, get it on, like
Dive
see,
right in.
right? She wants to put on lingerie. He doesn't care. He just wants to see her, naked or something.
Mhm.
He could be total sexual. Like he's just, it's the act of sex that turns him on. He doesn't need all the flowery,
Right.
nice
And this
things.
is a great conversation for seniors too. And the reason why I say that is because I know some hot seniors in their 80s. Excuse me, I had a friend of mine's mother had me take her to the sex store. I was embarrassed. When she came out, she says, "Oh, and I got some extra batteries." But because you're 80 doesn't mean
You're not dead yet.
because you are of a particular age, 65 to 80, you're not dead. Your desire, maybe you have erectile dysfunction, maybe you don't, you have vaginal drying, or you have no walls at a certain age, but there's still an intimacy. There is still a love. There is still an eroticism. There is still a passion and a compassion that you can feel at any age. If it's nothing but snuggling, if it's nothing but, getting your feet massaged, having a kiss or a peck on the back of the neck, holding hands, don't feel that you are too old to be intimate,
Mm-hmm.
to have a sexual desire, and to speak a love language. Am I correct?
Correct. Correct. Yep.
You're doing yourself a disservice. You really are. I know during COVID, a friend of mine's mother would sneak into one of the other people's, one of the other guys' rooms, and they would get busy. Well, after COVID, they ended up getting married because they were both about to get put out because they were sneaking in each other's rooms. But I thought it was the cutest thing ever that they still wanted a companion. And a lot of times it's companionship. So don't get so caught up on the penetration because that's not always it.
Right.
There are people that have been together and that will be together again. If you understood, maybe, or if your ex-husband understood you a little bit better, you don't know. Maybe he was doing it with someone else. Maybe he was gay. You don't know what that conversation was about because you never explored it and you were inhibited. So you didn't know how to introduce that conversation to make it palatable, and he resisted it. So now it destroyed a family. It's all about communication. All
It is
about communication.
definitely 100% communication.
So let's ask you some fun questions.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were an appliance in the kitchen, what appliance would you be?
Oh gosh. Uh First thing that's coming to my mind is a blender.
A blender. Why would you be a blender?
um because I like to, I don't know, like
You want to mix it
stir
up?
things up, I guess. Stir things up. I have a lot of energy, and
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I would say I have a lot of good energy, and so I am not. Hmm. what's the word? Like I just feel like I'm high vibe. I'm
Yeah.
yeah.
Good rotation.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay. If you could time travel, where would you land? Would you go back to the past? Would you stay here in in the present, or would you projectile to the future?
That's a good one. I'm really curious. During sex, I get visions of me like as a priestess. So I always like, I wonder, if that was one of a past life. I also had a vision of me as a witch as well. So I believe very much that these were different past lives that I have had,
Okay.
and that's why I'm saying like sex is just so powerful. It takes me to other places. It's opened up so many, and that was actually I'm saying sex, but it was actually myself this with the egg. Like I had such a deep, profound experience learning about myself, and which was always such a negative, has such a negative
Yeah.
connotation. And now I embrace it because, when we really look up what a witch was, that they were like the spiritual powerful women um in the community,
Absolutely.
and they're the ones that knew about lots of things that, you know so anyway, so now what I'm saying is like, I don't know about the future, but I'm really curious, like where for
Where your
myself. Yeah.
past life. Okay,
Mhm.
that's good. If you were an animal, what animal would you be and why?
um I want to say cat, but I don't necessarily mean a small domestic cat. And my logo is a lion, a lioness.
Okay,
So
a lioness.
yeah, um, I feel like I think cats have amazing energy. They're very, and again, I think witches had cats, right? They are so healing. My cat, I've had so many surgeries. I had jaw surgery. And when I came home, for like that whole week, he would just sit on my chest and purr so much that he would vibrate. And I could feel like almost like if Reiki, like I felt like he was giving me that good energy, healing energy. He would just come and lay on me all the time. And so they're very, for me, I feel like they're very powerful. They
They
take.
are, but they're also predatory.
Mhm.
You know, and that too is that you have to map out your territory. You have to seek out. You have to have a certain independence as well. And so,
Yeah.
and you have to find that. So that a lot of that is the cat. Well,
Yeah.
girl, I'd be the party animal. Absolutely. I'd be doing the dang thing. I sure would. Um, in closing, what do you want your legacy to be? Well, how do you want people to remember you and the great work that you do?
Just go for it, So I've been living my life like, you can be scared, that's okay, but you still go out and you do it. Just do it, whatever it is that you have that little calling or that little nudge, right? Just do it because life is too short, and that's what I've learned. I, there were so many years I thought I was going to be a goner, and thankfully I'm not. I'm here, and so for me, my life is passion. I want passion in all shapes, sizes, whatever. Like I want experiences. I want to live. I want to live fully. So I like to say, I want to live tapped in and turned on, like
Mm,
my whole
I
life
get it.
till.
I get it. I get it. I get it. So, thank you so much, Teja, for sharing your story, your wisdom, and the ability for us to explore
Mhm.
our highest frequency, being a man or woman, but really for women to be able to feel free to express yourself and not be inhibited and not be shamed about how you feel or your desire. Work with someone that can help you explore that on many different levels, just to be free of it, just to have a conversation around it, to understand your love language, to know who you are, what your desires are. Don't leave this planet with a whole bunch of what ifs and unanswered questions when you got somebody right there that has been
Yeah,
there, done that, and can help
exactly.
you figure it out. Tell my
Thank
brains how
you.
to get in contact with you and any current offerings or programs you may have.
I'm sorry. Did you say share what I
Yeah,
have?
no, tell my brains how to get in contact with you, and also if there's any current offerings that you may have.
Sure, yeah, there is. So very easy, TejaValentin.com, TejaValentin.com. And you'll see my offerings on there. But I have a lovely jam-packed full offering. It's a 6-month offering. It's about pretty much what we were talking about, but it encompasses everything. So we're doing that foundational piece. Then we move into more of an empowerment piece, and then the last part is the more the sexual pleasure, where we work with the jade egg and really learning your own energy. So that's a nice 6-month program, and then I have a couple smaller ones as well, and so that's on there. You could, if you like a free discovery call, it's a 30-minute call. You can go on the website tejavalentin.com and then click on the booking section, and it's you'll jump on my calendar and schedule a session with me. So I love to see you, love to talk to you, and help you in any way that I can. And if you don't see something on my website, but you still have questions, please still reach out.
I want you to reach out and touch more than somebody's hand. Touch yourself in a positive kind of way. Thank you so much, Teja, again for being here on the edge. Brains, you know the spot, the location. I need you to love, like, share, and subscribe. Love, like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, to Instagram, to YouTube, to LinkedIn, to Twitter. This is going to be all over the planet. And share this with someone. You know, it's just a point and a click. It costs you nothing, but you could gain everything. Talk to you soon. Thank you, Teja. You're the best.
Thank you.